Welcome to Dental Decoders, where we're cracking the code on all things dental operations. I'm your host, Brittany, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rebecca.
Each week, we'll dive into topics to help your dental practice streamline operations, overcome roadblocks, and reduce team burnout.
Whether you're a practice owner or an office manager or a team member looking for ways to improve your office, this podcast is for you.
We'll bring you insightful discussions, engaging interviews, as well as mini episodes packed with practical tips.
So sit back and relax as we dive into all things operations together. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Dental Decoders Podcast. I'm Brittany Rogars and I'm joined today by my host, Rebecca. Today we are going to do things a little bit differently where I'm actually going to take the time and interview Rebecca so you guys have the opportunity to get to know this fantastic person I'm lucky enough to have as my co-host. Hi, Rebecca. It's got to be a little bit different to be on that side of the mic getting interviewed instead of being on the other side. So, Rebecca, why don't we start by just having you tell me a little bit about yourself and your history in the dental industry?
Yeah, super. Great question to start with. My dad was a dentist. So growing up, we all were part of building his practice. He was a solo owner and was one of the first ones to implement Dentrix in his practice many years ago. So it was back in the day when, of course, we had to fold letters by hand, stuff them in the envelopes, lick the envelope, which is, by the way, 32 calories, and stamp them, random piece of info for you, and put them in the mail. We were stuffing, or we would pump lotion into bottles and put labels on them. This was, we didn't have these fantastic vendors to reach out to that could create all these beautiful ways to reach out to your patients. And it was a great way. My dad was very invested in his patients and he loved what he did. He was truly an artist and did a lot of his own lab work and his own gold work. So it really instilled in me this patient experience and amazing customer service. So that's where I get my love of dentistry. And that's why I think after my motherhood and being a parent first, I eventually came back into the dental field and have just soared. I love customer service and I love seeing patients smile.
It makes me so happy. I love that in dentistry, you find a lot of the times that it's kind of a family business. It's multi-generations of people who love dentistry. And I think that one cool other piece of dentistry is everybody in the industry has such a big heart and it has that like patient focus kind of embedded in their mind. And it's
absolutely, yeah,
super cute that went from generation to generation with you guys. So beyond being patient experience focused and kind of getting that love of customer service from your dad, what is your favorite thing about the industry?
I think with dentistry, people have had such varied experiences in the dental practice or, going to the dentist. People have had experiences from when they were little, whether they were really positive or they were, scary, even up through adulthood. They've had varying experiences with different dentists. And I enjoy talking to patients, hearing about their experiences, and learning how to create the most perfect experience as best we can for those patients and find a way that helps them feel most comfortable and building that rapport, not only with the dentist, but with every team member that's working in that office.
In the industry, especially when you are there every single day in the practice, you're always so focused on the patient. It's really refreshing to hear that we should bring that internally too, and also talk about rapport building with our team members that we work with every day.
Right. And we build that relationship every day. We sometimes spend more time in that office than we do sometimes at home. And so we have a really great relationship. And just as we build that relationship with each other as team members and with our doctors, we should cultivate that same relationship with our patients to build that trust and camaraderie with them so that when the time comes and they need to do some treatment that might be extensive or might be a little scary, they're going to already have that trust and that relationship with our office, with our team and our doctors that they will feel comfortable moving forward.
What do you think is a good tip that you would give to anybody listening right now on ways that they can build trust and build relationships in their practice?
I think that relationship with your patient starts the minute you answer the phone. They can sense that joy and the passion that you have the minute you answer that phone. A piece of advice that I always give to our patient or our team members that are answering the phone is I always say, grab a little mirror and put it right by your phone, because anyone can sense when you answer that phone if you're smiling, if you're stressed, if you're preoccupied. And so I always recommend putting a little mirror there. So when you answer that phone, look in the mirror. And if you're smiling, they can hear that smile in your voice as well. And the patients can definitely hear in just the inflection in your voice that you're having a good day and you are dedicating your time and effort to talk to them on the phone.
When I first started at the front desk, that was the piece of advice I was given. And at the time, I hated it. I was like, this feels so awkward and uncomfortable. But then I had a patient call back and say, I just want to let you know that like your phone call made my entire day. And like, who would think that calling the dentist would be the highlight of somebody's day? And I was like, okay, so maybe there is merit to this crazy mirror that I have at my desk. So I love that piece of information. And I love that takeaway because it does sound kind of crazy, but it works. So
it does. It starts to build the relationship instantly.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of crazy methods that seem like they may not work, what is an out of the box idea that you've implemented in your practice?
So one of the ideas that we decided to give a try in one of the practices that I've worked in is, especially post-COVID, is working to fill that front desk position, whether that's your receptionist, your recare hygiene coordinator, it's your treatment coordinator, it's any one of those positions. One of the toughest things that some of the offices that I work with have found is that trying to keep that position filled can be very difficult. It's also very difficult once you have invested your time and your energy to train those team members at the front desk to fill that spot for your office. And it's 3, 4, 6 months later, and you hopefully get a 2-week resignation, but most likely not. And that team member's gone. All of a sudden, you've invested all this time, money, and energy into that team member, and now they're gone. So we decided to try an idea with working with a company to bring on virtual front desk team members offshore in another country. I will admit I was a little nervous at first because I really do believe in that personal touch, in that relationship with patients. So you can do this a lot of different ways. The way we saw these team members that we brought on, and this was for a multi-location business, so they had several locations, was to essentially create an idea that these team members would help with answering the phone, which right off the bat was amazing. It's so quiet when you walk into the practice because the phone's never ringing. You're not choosing between answering the phone and talking to the patient that's in front of you. These virtual team members can help you in just your back office. They can help you to work a recare system to reach out to patients who, have fallen out of their recare 3, 4, 6 month system with your office. You can have them reach out to people that have treatment that needs to be done and haven't come back. They are an extension of your team. And this was hugely successful for this practice and the practices that I've worked with that have decided to bring on this remote team member concept. Some just completely eliminated the front desk, and which is amazing. And that's one idea. Some have decided to keep one team member at the front so that they still have the personal interaction with their patients and maintaining that trust and relationship, and brought on remote team members to help with very specific tasks in their office so that some of those patients that have kind of fallen through the cracks, or they needed someone who had some accounting abilities or billing or insurance verification, but that takes so much time. If you could hire someone, right, just to do that. A lot of offices have been exploring this idea and concept as a way to, one, cut their salary overhead. That's a big one. One office I worked with had 4 of them. 4. Can you imagine 4 people in your background as part of your team? That's 8 arms. That's 8 arms doing so much for you. It brought a lot of success to their practice. So when you talk about this out of a box idea, it was for us very successful for these practices. Same thing, a little scary, but very successful. And the virtual team members are so grateful for the job that for a lot of these offices, they've been with them for 1, 2, 5 years now, and they love it. They wouldn't go back. So it's a concept and idea to think about.
That's awesome. My brain is going a million miles an hour, and I have so many piggyback questions I want to ask you. First, I guess the big elephant in the room that I want to ask you about is, how are your patients feeling with having these virtual team members and maybe not having that face when they check in at the front desk? How has the feedback been from them?
Yeah, it's a great question. And overall, our patients really appreciated that change because, as you can imagine, and probably a lot of our listeners understand, is that when you call a dental office and we talk about the mirror and smiling because you have so many things happening, is those virtual team members have time. They have time to talk to your patients. Tell me what's going on. What kind of pain are you experiencing? And they can dialogue with that patient and they feel heard. They feel like someone really cares about them. Not that we don't care about them, of course, in the office, right? But when we have so many arms ready to help our patients and help them feel listened and appreciated and heard, because we have time. And then the reverse, when they come into the office, not everybody wants to eliminate their entire front desk. That doesn't work for everybody. Then they come in and they get the same experience when they come to your practice. They come in and the phones aren't ringing and there isn't chaos happening because you have so many people helping your practice. And that's really what the patients start to experience, is this feeling of everybody's here to help me. And everybody takes time. There's no rushing and there's not happening in the office all the time. So a lot of our patients appreciated it. So I won't say that there was never any bad feedback. The patients said, yeah, can you just put me through to someone in the office? And you always have that option, right? You always have that ability to meet your patient's needs. But generally speaking, our patients, our vendors, the people we worked with really appreciated someone who would take very detailed notes and put it in their charts. And, you feel like you have a lot of hands in the pot, but really they're all taking such detailed notes. And it makes it so easy to go back. Sometimes in the office, we're all so busy, we forget to note when we talk to them and who said what. But those virtual team members are very detailed. A lot of them are dentists. A lot of them are dental assistants. And so they understand the anatomy and they can have conversations. Is it normal to feel a little sensitivity after my root canal today? What can I do to alleviate some of the pain I'm experiencing? They can have all those conversations. It's really great.
That's fantastic. It sounds like you were really able to transform kind of the culture and dynamic at your practice to support your patients in a positive way while still getting outside of that box. I love that. Speaking of transformations, my transformation coach here, I would love to hear more about your new business venture as a transformation coach and what all that entails and how you are able to help practices adapt and kind of transform their practice into their ideal practice.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, I did start kind of breaking off of this idea of these virtual team members. My business is Transformational Dental Coaching, and the logo that I decided to use was a butterfly. And I think that as each of us, no matter where we are in our career, whether we're just starting out we've been at it a couple of years, or we're a seasoned veteran managing or running a practice, we all have little tidbits like a caterpillar, right? We need to kind of get more information, and we reach out to people that we know, other office managers. Our dentist helps to train us. We attend CE courses. We just kind of eat a little bit as we go. And that is what transforms us, right, into our beautiful butterflies, and we're all wonderful leaders. And that's kind of what I really want to help do as I help practices and leaders and dentists in their practices move forward in getting over some of those hurdles and those walls that they keep hitting and just can't seem to get over. It's really my goal. I love helping people. I love going in and seeing what we can do to help those leaders. What do you need? How can I support you? If this is with a virtual team member, I have everything I need to help you bring them on board, and love to support them in that way. If it's something with, HR, if it's something with their team building in their office and they can't seem to kind of, get over this hurdle that they have with some of their employees, I'm here to help support you, because I want to see every leader become that beautiful butterfly and just transform into a confident leader and love what they're doing and love their job and be successful in building and growing the practice that they're working in.
What would the ideal office be for you to work with? So if I have a listener out there and they're like, I think this might be a good fit, what typical practice dynamic are you looking for? Is it only single practices? Do you work with DSOs? What does that structure kind of look like when it comes to your ideal client?
So really both. We've worked with some startup businesses where it's like the dentist, and it's one person at the front office, and it's, maybe one person in the helping the dentist, assisting them. And I've also, of course, worked with several offices that have multiple locations. I've worked with specialty offices and a little bit with some of the ortho line, as it's a little bit different, but can also be just as rewarding. The goal is really to help them reach whatever their goals, whatever they're wanting to reach in that, is it short term? Is it long-term coaching that you need? What is it that ultimately that practice wants to obtain? But I've worked with all different levels of ownership, partners, associates, multi-ownership, DSOs, small practice, private ownership. It's really about helping the dentist find what he's looking for, but also the leaders in their offices, whether that's an office manager or that's just a treatment coordinator who's kind of over making sure everything happens. And sometimes we have to realize that in the dental space, you have assistants and hygienists who are going to get older, and they're eventually going to want to move into a space in which isn't hurting their bodies as much anymore. And that generally means moving to the front desk. And that can be, in their mind, a little bit of a hurdle, and sometimes for the owner too. And so that's where we kind of get them to nibble on all the wonderful things that are around them. And again, transform into that great leader that they can be and will be for that practice.
I love your butterfly analogy, and it's very fitting for your name. So I think it just works really well. If any of our listeners are hearing this interview and they're thinking, wow, we could really use your services in our practice, or I have an upcoming transition that I would really love some support for, how can they find out more about your business and get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I'm sure at the end of the podcast, we can put some information for being able to reach out to me via email and by phone. And we'll put some information for my website as well.
Sounds great. I'll make sure I get everything put into the show notes so they're able to reach out to you there. So as we wrap up today's episode of Dental Decoders, I would like to ask you to share your decoding moment with us. So what is the single most valuable lesson or secret code you've unraveled in the dental industry that's been a game changer for your practice or career?
That's actually super easy to answer. I belong to the American Academy of Dental Office Management. And I'm sure anyone who may be listening, if you have not heard about AADOM, I would highly recommend getting out there, finding a local DPLN, which is the Dental Professional Learning Network, which is all local. and then reaching out to the national chapter of AADOM. As leaders in an office, as a manager, a regional director, and someone like myself who's a chief operating officer over multiple locations, we find sometimes that we feel very alone. We sometimes feel like we're a person on an island by ourselves. And unlike assistants or other front desk team members, we can reach out to those other ones that are in that same position. But as a leader in an office, you sometimes feel alone. And for me, one of the greatest decoding things that I found was AADOM and the tribe that I found there, and the friends and people that are all over the United States that I can reach out to, and other coaches and other speakers and presenters and even vendors that I've found and brought into the other offices that I have worked with and trained and coached, to find them the people that they need to help them be successful. And for me, as a new manager, it was so nice to be able to meet people and have resources with the Academy of Dental Office Management for my very particular role as a leader and manager in the dental realm.
We are both AADOMs, which is fantastic. Congratulations. You got yours this year. And we met through AADOM. So it really does bring people together. And I think that would have probably been my answer as well. So I think we're in agreement that AADOM is great. I will definitely put some information on AADOM in our show notes too. You are on the board of your local chapter, correct?
I am. I am the vice president of the Denver DPLN here, and very big supporter. And we have some phenomenal speakers coming in 2024. And we just can't wait to have you join us either in person or virtually via Zoom, so that you can hear from our fantastic speakers. Come and get some of those little nibbles that you need and transform yourself as a leader.
Fantastic. So I will put that information in the show notes so you can jump in there. If you are local to the Denver area, definitely check out Rebecca's group. I was formerly on the board of the Southeastern Wisconsin chapter. So if you are in the Southern Wisconsin area, Madison, Milwaukee, or anywhere in between, definitely come check out our meetings as well. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for allowing me to dig into your brain a little bit. I can't wait to catch you all on next week's episode.
Thank you, Brittany. It's been fun.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Dental Decoders.
We hope you'll take away something new and useful from this episode.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to rate, share, and subscribe.
We look forward to seeing you next week.